Good to be back with you. Glad basketball season is upon us, and we have been working 8 hours per week, 4 hours per week until September 21st, and we were bumped up to 8 hours of skill work for the last week. And starting October 14th will be the first official day of practice, and we will move to 20 hours per week then. We'll have 6 weeks for practice and be ready for the opening game, which will be November 25th is a new play date. We were going to open on November the 10th, and we had a game scheduled with the University of Texas that we will not be playing this year. It's going to get moved, and we'll play it in the next couple of years. And lost another game there, a couple games as well. The schedule is still fluid. We're trying to pencil in the last couple of dates, but we should have that for you very soon. Also, as Matt mentioned, the Sun Belt Conference is ready to release the schedule. We met yesterday with the ADs, and the basketball coach is trying to determine some things moving forward, such as scheduling and testing protocol, et cetera. And we have another couple of meetings scheduled. But the conference will release our Sun Belt schedule tomorrow. I can tell you that we're going to have a heavy load of games at home in January. We'll have a stretch where we have 7 of 9 games at home. So January would be a very important month for us to get out of the gates early in Sun Belt Conference play. Guys are working hard. We're returning a couple guys that have been on the injured reserve list, so to speak. And we're looking forward to have a full complement of players when we start on October 14th. Questions for the group?
So, Coach, how has the scheduling, like, where are you? And you said it's still fluid. Like, what are the complications right now? I'm sure you know maybe a lot more than the last time we spoke. And what are the complications right now still?
Well, actually, the last time we spoke, Kevin, things are really the same with us, except for we lost 4 games from in that 2-week window from the 10th to the 25th. The 25th, we're still trying to make sure that the teams we are playing for our home games adhere to the Sun Belt protocol for testing, and we're kind of waiting on that to see exactly where it goes. But we know what we want to have completed. We just have to wait a little bit longer before we announce it.
Coach, what will the Sun Belt protocol for testing be for basketball?
Still being worked on, Tim. At this stage, it will be similar to football. They're talking about 2, maybe 3 tests per week, trying to make sure that teams are adhering to the testing policy and keeping everything safe, because that's the main thing, is the environment. With football, it's a little bit different. As you guys know, you got 1 game per week, and the testing procedure is just a little bit different. And if you have to lose a game, it's a 1-game deal. If we're on a road trip, you're talking about 2 games, right, that you would probably lose. So we got to make sure that our conference gets the minimum number of games in to qualify for the NCAA tournament.
Coach, you said that the conference is going to release the schedule tomorrow. Have they adjusted the number of games that are going to be on the conference schedule? I know originally it was an 18-game schedule.
Looks like it's going to remain the same, Jay. That was discussed again yesterday. The last 2 weeks, we've had meetings with the ADs and the commissioner and front office of the Sun Belt, and looks like we're going to leave it at 18.
And what is the number in order to get into be eligible for the NCAA tournament?
I believe it's 12 or 8 or 13, Tim. I'd have to double check. But there is a minimum number that each conference has to adhere by.
How are things for your guys with the COVID situation? Have you had guys who have not been able to practice to this point, or any current cases, or are you guys clean?
No, we've had a couple of situations, just like a lot of people, a lot of colleges have had, where we had to pause practice for a few days. But currently we're right back at it. Guys are doing a good job and we're trying our best to get to the court. We've got a team that really believes in each other. We've got a true team this year that I feel like it's going to be entertaining, going to be exciting, going to have a great opportunity to win the conference. And we're doing everything we can to make sure we get to the court.
Coach, I wanted to go back to the logistics of the season. Have you guys discussed internally, or has the conference discussed what would constitute canceling a game? Because one or two players being out is certainly a greater impact on your team than it would be the football team.
Yeah, it's still being determined. We had talked about a minimum number of players. I don't know where that stands at this time. And the coaches got off the call yesterday. The ADs and SWA stayed on for an extra hour, so don't really know what that conversation entailed.
Coach, you mentioned injury issues. What is the update on some of the players that were still having issues during the summer?
Kobe Julian has been practicing all summer. Basically, he's worked his way back in. He'll be officially cleared, I believe, October 6th. Dury Cadwell is close to being cleared. We should have both those guys back by the 14th of October, so within 2 weeks from the day. Brayan Ayu had a piece of floating cartilage in his knee, behind his knee, taken out a week and a half ago, and he's doing tremendous. He should be ready to go on the 14th. And Trajan Wesley still having a little bit of issues with his foot and has not been able to practice consistently yet. So, but everyone else is in good shape and have really gotten better practicing.
Coach, getting back to the question that Andrew asked about the minimum number of players, you had several games last year where you only had 8 scholarship players. So I would imagine that the league would be ready to play with as few as 8.
Yeah, that's one thought for sure, Jay. And it's funny you mentioned that because I'm a member of the NABC Congress. I represent the Sun Belt on a monthly conference call, which we've had more than those with our new executive director, Craig Robinson, recently with everything that's going on. And that number was discussed among the Congress. Nothing has been clarified nationally or within our league yet. But when we talked about that very number, 8 was discussed a little bit yesterday. And I texted Dr. Maggard while we were on the Zoom together and said, shoot, this should help us because we did this quite often last year at times and started a couple of walk-ons at Georgia State. I mean, it was difficult, and there's some games we just didn't have the firepower that we needed to compete and win. That's why I was so proud of that group down the stretch. We came back and played really good basketball late, but there was discussion among the women's coaches as well yesterday. And what if we have 2 point guards out, or we have to have a big bringing the ball up? A lot of different scenarios that could come into play.
Do you bring in an extra walk-on or 2, or do you even have room to do that just so you have extra bodies potentially available, or is that not in the cards?
Well, we have an extra walk-on now, Tim, or a walk-on, I should say. We added right when school started, and he's doing extremely well. A young man named Kentrell Garnett from Catholic High in Baton Rouge. Averaged about 27 a game in high school, I believe, and has really done a nice job defensively for us and shooting the basketball. So he's a guard, a fine young man, and we feel confident that he can step in and help us if he's ready when the time comes. But there was discussion whether the 8 should be scholarship players or walk-ons or a combination of the both, and that's still being discussed.
Last time we talked, you were discussing those bubble ideas that were getting floated around a little bit at the time. As you're trying to finalize the schedule, any possibility you play in something like that or no?
Not necessarily. The number of games is 25. We're playing 18 conference games. We had 7 non-conference games scheduled. We're trying to hang on to those to make sure that everyone meets the testing criteria to come and play. But to pick up and travel to a bubble, Tim, is something that I don't think that we're really considering at this point. We'd rather play home and away, and just to eliminate as much travel as possible.
And just to clarify on the numbers, you said you originally had 4 that were going to be played during the time period that you can't play now, and then you said you can't do the Texas game, just so I have this right, this season, but those other 3, do you get those in at some point later in the season, or you lose those additional 3 in addition to the Texas one?
Well, we lost one of them, and that was a game at Southern Mississippi. So, but we'll get, hopefully we're trying to reschedule 2 of the teams that we were discussing, and trying to make sure that we get the right dates and the testing continues to work out, et cetera.
Coach, as far as in general, the basketball coaches, when y'all have been speaking, what have y'all learned from football, and have y'all been encouraged by how things have gone with football in terms of the COVID and all, or what have you kind of gotten from football's start so far as basketball coaches?
Dr. Maggard told us as an athletic department back in the summer that this would be a, quote, clunky season. And there are going to be times where you have to hit the reset button. And that's part of coaching. I think, Billy's done a great job with our football team. They're off to a great start and have had some issues. And almost every campus in the country's had issues. And ours has been better than most. So we're going to continue to work and try to be safe, do the right things, and give ourselves the best position that we can to get as many games in as we can, knowing that there could be a game that's canceled or that you lose an opportunity. So we're just trying to do everything we can to, again, put ourselves in the best position to play.
Coach, you said that you were looking forward to the season and that you felt like you had a team that could compete for a conference championship. How much of that is based on the way you guys played down the stretch last year, and how much of that is the influx of new talent that you have?
It's both, Jay. I think the influx of talent is very crucial. We had a really good recruiting class. We got a couple of guys that were able to receive waivers, one 6'11", one 6'10". We'll be bigger up front with Theo and Isaiah. Those guys can do some things for us on the front line, and then just the shooting and the length of the wings, plus to add Dury and Kobe back into the mix. Malik's better. Duguay and Cedric have played extremely well, and Mike Thomas has played well, freshman from Lake Charles.
Coach, at one point I saw something, frankly, I don't even remember where I saw or heard it, but there was the idea of everybody qualifies for the NCAA tournament. Is that an idea you'd be on board with, or is that notion silly to you?
Yeah, it sounds good in theory, but I don't believe it's possible, and I knew that it would never catch on. So that's not going to happen. That was a pipe dream, and one of the articles I read after that happened said if the ACC coaches really wanted to help the state of basketball, then they'd go play road games at Furman and Greensboro. So, that's not realistic to put that on. How can you add more teams when you're having issues with travel and a virus? It doesn't add up.
Coach, so but take out the injuries from last year. If you just had a normal set of injuries, is it still safe to say that you foresee even more depth this year than you would have had last year, even if you had no injuries or a few injuries?
Yes, there's no question, Kevin. We've got more depth now than we've had in years, back to the 17-18 team. And we've got guys that put the team first. They care about winning, and they really support each other. They love the game. And it's exciting to visit with these guys and to go to practice each day and watch them work. And they're excited about competing and putting in the work. And hopefully things will go well for us. We can have some good fortune this year. Certainly know we haven't had any in the last couple of years with Malik Marquetti and Kobe Julian not even being able to play a conference game. And so we are looking forward to having a good season, a healthy season, and an opportunity to get to Pensacola and compete for the NCAA bid.
Coach, with Malik kind of bursting onto the scene last year, what do you expect from him this year? And what do you think he's improved on most this offseason?
He's shooting the ball really well. He's worked hard on his ball handling. We're excited about his continued progress and watching him get better at decision-making at the point. He was outstanding yesterday defensively. Of course, we know he's a great rebounding guard, but he has a lot of potential. And I expect him, Cedric, Kobe, and Duguay all to have a chance to be all conference. I mean, that's the next step. We didn't have an all conference player last year out of 15 selections, and I think that's the first time in my time here that's happened.
Yes, sir.
Coach, besides the bigs, which obviously is a huge thing, what else do you think fans, those that get in to the Cajun Dome, and us will see different about your team this year than last year on the court, besides the obvious height advantages?
I think we'll play better defense. We'll be a better rebounding team. I think we'll share the ball more. We were shorthanded last year and had a couple guys dominate the ball, and that's not going to happen this season.
Hey, Coach Marlin, this is Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org. Thanks for having me on. Quick question about the non-conference schedule. You said you have 7 openings available. Are you able to confirm at this point any of those 7 matchups that are going to go forward, or are you waiting to announce that?
Probably waiting to announce it. We feel good about a couple of games that were scheduled and should take place. I'd be surprised if they're not, but we're still going to wait and release the schedule at a later time. But we'll have a nice home schedule as well. There was talk about starting the conference earlier yesterday. That didn't happen. We're going to start it on the 31st of December. And let us keep, hopefully, the home games and a couple of road contests that we have scheduled that should help our team grow.
Coach, regarding the home schedule, have you gotten any news about the capacity or if they're going to allow fans in, kind of like how the football team's been doing?
Have to wait and see what happens with the virus and the state of things. But, yes, we've been informed that currently could be 25%. There could be more social distancing inside the dome than 6 feet. I was told it could be 8 feet. I'm not sure about that yet, but we will have fans there, and hopefully we'll have up to 3,000 fans, which is sometimes a normal home crowd for us.
Yes, sir.
Coach, this is one of my favorite questions. I'll probably ask you this again in a couple of weeks after you guys have actually had full practices. But what have you seen in these first couple of weeks that has stood out or surprised you that maybe you weren't expecting with this team?
Oh, that's a good one, Andrew. A lot of these guys, Mike Thomas really came on and has really had a great summer, and he's been impressive. He's got to get stronger, but he definitely got better. He committed us as a junior. He got better as a senior, and he's shooting the ball a lot better than I remember. So that's been a pleasant surprise. And of course, the length of Isaiah Richards and Theo Buka, those guys can cover some ground and very, very talented from an athletic standpoint. So feel good about all that. And one other thing that's been encouraging, guys, is that we just found out last week that Kobe Julian has got his 6th year back. So he's a 3rd-year freshman.
I apologize if I missed it when you were talking about it earlier, but you said you're talking about the 2 big guys with their eligibility. Did you ever get word on Jacoby Gordon, or are you still waiting on that one?
Still waiting on that waiver.
Regarding Devin Butts, do you believe that he'll be eligible? Was he one of the people that you had said gotten a waiver? I apologize.
No, I didn't say that, but he was one of the first ones to get a waiver, and we knew he was going to get the waiver before we took him.
Perfect.
And Devin is a good player, 6'5", 190, can really shoot the basketball. He's athletic, and he's had a good summer for us, and he's eager to get out on the court. And so we're excited about having him on our team.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more.
Coach, personally, for yourself, what has probably been the most difficult aspect of coaching during a pandemic, during this COVID outbreak? What's probably been the most difficult challenge?
Yeah, you're not able to spend time with the guys. And until we got here, when we left in March until July, we didn't see them except for on Zooms. And it's just not the personal touch. We pride ourselves on our relationships with our players. That's one thing that's been a strength of mine in my coaching career. And not being able to be around the guys was difficult. But once we got here in July, the new guys came in, it really gave us a shot in the arm. You know, we signed 5 guys off of Zoom calls without ever coming to campus, and feel like we got some really good players. So just not being able to touch them every day and look them in the eye and talk to them and try to help them develop as a student and as a player.